I need therapy after this.
That was exhausting. Yeah,
I'm a therapist.
I want to go to bed.
Yeah.
I was checking out Twitter while it was happening, and a lot of people kept saying they needed Andy Cohen to moderate.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yes, that's great.
Yes.
It was definitely a real Housewives reunion.
Literally, what I've been going back and forth with a bunch of buddies of mine who we follow this stuff. They actually think Trump dominated this debate, and my message to them was, you don't dominate something just because you're the loudest voice in the room.
Come on,
if you ain't saying shit, you know what I'm saying? Like we from Chicago, a lot of us from the hood, from different cities, we do this thing called jonesing, where you just sit up and go back and forth.
We go back and forth.
You always got that one guy that tries to talk loud and over talk you, but he ain't really cracking no funny jokes. And then you throw your one joke fact about his mama having 3 different boyfriends and you don't know who your daddy is. And you know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's what Biden was doing. I feel like Trump was the loud guy in the room trying to overtalk him, but then Biden would just play by the rules, throw a simple fact out there. Now I got to find something else to argue about. I got to keep this chaotic. So I mean, to me, I wouldn't say Biden outright won it. I would say it was a draw. Trump was probably more entertaining. You know what I'm saying? If I want something to laugh at, but I think Biden stuck to his game plan, cool hand Luke, talk to the American people like Syleena had mentioned earlier, how he was turning to the camera speaking to us. For Trump, it was about arguing with the moderator and Biden.
For me,
a lot of arguing.
Yeah.
For me, that's why he lost. I am outdone. First of all, in all of my history of voting, I've never seen anything like that. That was despicable. It was disgusting. To have our president of the United States speak in that manner was outrageous. I'll just get into, we can start off with the fact that he never looked at the camera. He never looked at the American people, ever. Every single answer was combative and to diminish and demean our people, the people, Chris and Joe Biden. Every time he was asked a question, he never answered the question. He never gave us his plan. He never talked about exactly what he plans to do in the future. All he kept talking about was what he's done and how amazing it was. So we've already seen 4 years of that in the news. We've seen that. We see that all the time. He did that during the coronavirus where people were dying. He did that when George Floyd died in front of our very own eyes. Rayshard Brooks, the list goes on and on. Breonna Taylor. The one thing that let me tell you something. If you vote for Donald Trump and you're Black, fucking cancer, kill yourself. Because African-American issues have never been brought up in this manner in a presidential debate ever.
It's true.
A moderator has never asked the question, will you acknowledge that there is systemic racism in America? Joe Biden answered that question by
and will you denounce white supremacists?
Come on, Sean.
Yeah, which he clearly did not do.
Not only did he not denounce white supremacy, he didn't even admit that there is systemic racism in America.
He didn't even touch on that part of the question.
He didn't touch on the part of the question. So if you're a Black person and you vote for Donald Trump and you support him, you're an asshole. And actually, you don't have self-love because he clearly just shitted and disrespected Black people in general. Chris Wallace couldn't even get the Black Lives Matter terminology correct. That's how
I wanted to bring that up. That was bothering. Yeah.
That is how systemic racism is in this country.
Yeah. Well,
the moderator don't even know how to get to articulate the question because it's never been asked.
He conflated Black.
If you're
Black Lives. Oh, sorry, Syleena.
If you're a Black person and you on the fence, you're a fool. You're a fool. And he doubled down on the good people on both sides, even though someone died. He did not ever even address coronavirus and why he denounced it in the why he diminished it in the interview that he had with Bob Woodward. You didn't say anything about that. And then another thing that had me all the way fucked up on him. When they were talking about, I think it was reform, like police reform, and no, the sensitivity training. This man said it's racist because basically the white cops felt like they were being asked questions that were inappropriate, making them feel uncomfortable, like they were on the other side. So you basically just touched on and solidified the Jane Elliott experiment. When she had the blue eyes and the brown eyes, what would it feel like? Mm-hmm. That's what the sensitivity training is designed to do, to create sensitivity for other races.
You know, Syleena, if I may, I think what you have here is what happens when you have, Black to your point, three white guys on a stage trying to talk about race and race matters. True. You have the complete failure of the conversation. Now, here's why I think Biden definitively won. I don't think it was a draw. And I definitely don't think that he lost.
Killed him.
Because what he won was Biden stood in a greater chance tonight to expand his electorate, to expand his base. That's why he was calm. That's why he was intentionally even. That's why he didn't, do too much of what a lot of us would have done. We were in the room, which is let Trump have it. Because you can win the moment and lose your audience, right?
Yes.
And so what Biden understood, and I won't be long with this, was that if you're measured, if you're peer presidential, if you snap back just a little bit to show that you do have a little bite in you, people will see the difference between a clean glass of water and a glass full of dirt. And that he created a contrast tonight, and that's what he had to do. If he would have just done what Trump did, it's not a contrast, it's not a referendum. He created the necessary contrast. Here's my last point, if I may. Biden also far exceeded expectations. People thought he was going to come on and just be senile, not be in command of facts, not make his verbs and his nouns,
Crazy Joe, right?
But he was in command of facts, in details, and policy, and numbers. And so by that measure alone, he did a good job tonight.
And he was consistent. He's always spewed facts. He's always talked facts. And he talked to the American people.
Do you think though a little bit of that? Because I thought I was gonna see Crazy Joe tonight. I thought Joe was gonna match dude energy, but then when he came out on the cool hand Luke stuff, do you think he got a phone call from number 44 that said, "Hey man, when you go in there, be cool"? You know what I'm saying? Play it like I would play it. Because I feel like Barack would have Obama the same way. It was I feel like Barack Obama the same way. And one more thing before I
cursed him out.
One more thing before I step back. I really, Trump makes me laugh. He's comedy gold. First of all, like some of the shit he says is absolutely hilarious, even though he bogus as hell. But the one thing that really just pissed me off, that stood out to me, which I felt like as a former veteran, as a veteran and a soldier in the United States Army, the way he went after Biden's son, and the fact that he was a fucking coward and he dodged the draft in Vietnam. So how you gonna sit up and talk crazy about somebody that even if they went and they got discharged, they went.
Yeah,
your whole ass you didn't want no parts of it. You know what I'm saying? So that really offended me, being a soldier and knowing that there's guys out there every day, and some of these soldiers, minds might get a little clouded and they think Trump is for them. But you talking to a guy that didn't even want to serve and stand next to other people and serve, during a crucial time when America needed soldiers. Not saying that America was right for doing what they did in Vietnam. That's a whole nother show.
A whole nother conversation, right?
That's a whole nother conversation. But at the end of the day, if we had to go, you didn't go. You know what I'm saying? Right. It'd be no different from somebody dodging a draft if we had to do one now for Afghanistan or any other places that we're in conflict in. So that really blew me with him right there. I know he's a blowhard, he's arrogant, I get all that, but that right there really left a super bad taste in my mouth. And I thought Joe handled it crazy. I thought Joe handled it well. If he'd have talked about my son like that, the presidential debate would probably been over, because I'd walked across the podium and smacked him.
Get at him. That's
he was really calm. He was very calm.
Totally disrespectful.
Yeah, Brooke, that's why the contrast was so important, because he had to show the American people that
This is not what
there's
you want.
leadership and then there's this.
Foolishness.
I agree with you. I think that, Trump was speaking to his base a lot, but I think we're past that point. We've already got two clear sides. There are a lot of people who have already decided who they're going to support, what they're going to fight for. So at this moment, you're looking for, I don't really know if I believe that there are undecided voters who are actually still deciding between Trump or Biden, but there are people who are deciding whether to vote or not to vote.
Mm-hmm.
And Trump was just speaking to people who are already with that. So if you're deciding whether to vote or not to vote, that doesn't work for you. So that's why I think it was good that Joe Biden stayed calm, because he needed to say new things. He needed to encourage people who have not made a decision to actually, in the middle of a pandemic, go and vote.
But
Trump
what?
Looked unhinged. He looked he presented himself as someone who is not in command of himself.
It was a
You know what, guys? To be perfectly honest, to keep it 100, when Syleena, when you said the people that are on the fence, I agree with you guys and Brooke that I don't think people on the fence. I think those people that claim they're on the fence secretly want to vote for dude, but scared to project that out loud. And I
saw that last time. Yeah,
they used the on the fence thing to keep you at bay. But I think they really want to vote for Buddy, you know what I'm saying? Because they got a $1,200 stimulus check and all that bullshit, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, Trump just showed you he's about chaos. He's a carnival barker. He's the guy that's controlling that gets you to come into the circus. He's not even the ringmaster. He's the guy that's like, step right up. The bearded lady, the blowtorch guy. Anytime you want to see something that they ain't got it, he diverts your attention to something else.
A straight clown.
He's a used car salesman.
Another thing with Black people, because you know what, this is we Black, and this is about us at this point. You know what I'm saying? I'm totally floored on how he disrespected Black Lives Matter. I'm totally floored at how he disrespected Black people by not denouncing white supremacy or the KKK or any of that, and borderline stuttered with it. However, what I also find very interesting is that, have you ever heard Trump even say the names of Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Rayshard Brooks, of the Trayvon Martin, Philando Castile, Eric Garner? Has he ever even said their names?
What if Joe Biden would have pushed back with that when he was saying, say law and order? Can you imagine the moment if Joe Biden would have said, say this, say this?
Chris couldn't even get him to denounce white supremacy.
But you know what? I think Joe's gonna study this game tape, and I think he's holding that. They still got some more debates coming. I think
because the Mexicans, I want to know answers on the border.
The closer we get to election, I think Joe's gonna start pulling out the heaters and keeping that subtle. But Dr. Sean, I want to ask you a question, brother. Do you think in one of these debates, Joe's gonna have to go left to show America that I can stand up to the bully, or should he keep the cool hand loop aspect throughout the whole debate?
Leon, it's a great question. I think he will. I'm almost certain, because I worked in politics as some of the rest of us have tonight as well, and I'm almost certain that it was a dedicated strategy for him not to do that tonight.
Okay,
agreed.
But I bet all the money in my pocket that before it's all over, they're going to say to him, "This is debate.
Crazy.
You can just be a little saucy, just a little saucy." And Biden's capable of it. He's capable. He called him a clown. He told him to shut the hell up. He called him a liar. It wasn't like he didn't do anything. He just didn't do it with vitriol and with anger. And here's my last point to your question, Leon. Trump always tells on himself. The more crazy he acts, the more desperate he feels. He knows he lost.
Yep.
They moved on too quickly from the denounce white supremacy thing. They moved on too quickly. I wish that he would have just continued to push him on that. And he also could have pushed Chris Wallace if he tried to move on. Like, this is very important to the American people.
That's a great point,
I need to hear an answer. And also something that we were touching on earlier, just how it was awful to hear they were conflating Black Lives Matter with defund the police and also with violence. And these are three completely separate things that need to be spoken about in separate ways. Joe Biden, Trump was doing a good job of pushing Joe Biden to upset his own base. Like, denounce the Green New Deal and defund the police, and And then Joe Biden actually kind of described defunding the police. He was saying, I don't want to defund the police, but the police also need, what did he say? Mental health workers with them. That would more defund some of police money and put it towards mental health care, which is kind of one of the big proponents of the whole movement.
That's the challenge of living in a multilingual country.
Right.
With a multi-dimensional sense of values and virtues. What I mean by that is the funding of police is important to us, right? It is not yet important to a whole nother segment of the population. Joe Biden has to thread that line, right? It's tragic that he has to do it. It should be important to everybody. But when you live in a multilingual country where different things mean different things for different constituencies, you run the risk. Tonight, I thought he avoided the issue. But I thought he avoided it for the sake of something greater. If Joe Biden would have lost this debate tonight, God help us.
But I think that defunding the police is not what most people think it is.
Right.
It's not taking money away from police officers.
Right.
Defunding the police means taking money that all these millions of dollars that government is putting into the police force,
armored trucks.
That's not necessary.
Right. Yeah.
That's not necessary, and in a way is helping to facilitate the unnecessary violence. Mm-hmm. Take some of that money and create boys and girls clubs, create mental health facilities, and different entities that can help the community and prevent them from being subject to crime and disorder.
I get what you're saying. Things that have been proven to bring crime down.
This is what I'm saying. They're not talking about
but here's the pushback,
police
though, Syleena.
officers from getting pensions and dumb shit like that. They're talking
Syleena,
about taking money and putting it back into the community.
Syleena, you're absolutely right, and I'm agreeing with you 100%. I think the point that I'm simply trying to make is, and we're not disagreeing, but I think the point
I'm not disagreeing
is that Joe Biden couldn't educate America tonight on any of that.
Right.
Well, he tried.
Right. He
just didn't have a good. His explanation was like not an explanation, but what he wanted to do, his plan. Because one thing that he did 1,000 times that Trump did not was spew out plans.
And
Trump
answer the question.
No plans. So he answered the question by saying, "No, don't defund the police, but the police need more funding so that they can have mental health care professionals come out and help facilitate arrests and create relationships between police officers and community and programs to help facilitate that." That's what he said. But I don't know if that's good enough, but that's what he said.
I know he couldn't have said this, but I would have loved to hear him say, well, let's just start having the FOP and have insurance for each individual officer. So when they do something crazy and a $12 million settlement gets paid out, it's not coming out of taxpayers' money. It comes out of the FOP pension and all that. Then I guarantee
good.
Come on.
All that drop.
That's good, Leon.
Rest in peace to the great Baba Dick Gregory, who I love following. I thought one of the most genius comments that ever lived. He said that a long time ago. Like, if you're a cop and you shoot somebody and your insurance, your personal insurance has to pay that out.
Right.
Now you thinking before you pull that trigger.
Right.
You thinking before you do something crazy. So, I would have loved to heard Joe Biden say something like that and ruffle a few feathers,
Exactly.
Because Trump kept going to, I don't think there's any police force or any, officers, law enforcement that endorsed you. He just kept putting that out over and over and over and over. And at one point I thought I got a little nervous when he kept over talking Joe Biden, and Joe Biden said, I said, oh, damn, he done broke him. You know what I'm saying? When Joe exasperated.
He's 79.
But he kind of broke
79,
us all.
so he ain't with the shit. He ain't with the shit. He old school. He like, this is some bullshit. Yeah. But Joe did say we need to hold police officers accountable, though. He should have said it like you said, Leon.
Yeah.
He should have broke it down more. But the truth is, Trump was talking over him so much that I would have been flustered.
No, it was Chris Wallace got flustered. The moderator had to repeatedly say, please, Mr. President, please, sir, excuse me. And then also say, sir, you'll like this question.
That's
sir, it's okay.
Trying to feed Chris narcissism.
Can I take the moderator role back? It was ridiculous. He talked over everyone.
How funny would it have been if Joe Biden would have just been like, man, will you shut your bitch ass up? I would have died. I would have checked out of here.
I died when he just said, shut up, man.
Gone.
That's what he should have said.
Overall, I know we were expecting Trump to, completely be himself, but was this what we saw, was this what you expected?
Yes.
It was a little loud for me off the top. I was taken aback a little bit.
It was worse than what I expected.
It was exactly what I expected, because I know that Trump knows this, that no president going into a debate at this stage of his electoral cycle, losing, has ever won the presidency. None of them.
I'll take it. All right, we have to go. This has been great. I mean, just being here with y'all, a lot of that wasn't great. But thank you for joining us here on Fox Soul. Thank you for letting us watch along with you. Have a good night.
Smoke
Good night,
one.
everybody.
Yeah.
Vote.
Let's go.